Hello, listeners. I'm your co-host, Jamie Arroyo, joined by Kirsten McWilliams. Today's episode is going to be an absolute treat for your taste buds. We're diving deep into the world of West African diaspora cuisines with a culinary genius who has been making waves in Lancaster.
That's right. Get ready to embark on a flavorful journey as we sit down with Chef Oliver Saye, the mastermind and owner of Homage Cuisines of the West African Diaspora.
Chef Oliver is on a mission to celebrate the rich flavors of the West African diaspora and cultural influences through his culinary creations. It's a story of passion, innovation, and the vibrant fusion of tradition. Stay tuned to learn more about his story. Welcome, Mr. Chef Oliver, the myth, the legend, Lancaster icon. Welcome to the Built by Us podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Represent Lancaster.
That's right.
McCaskey in the building. Always gotta say that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tornado in the house. Cool. Well, welcome to the Built by Us podcast. As you know, we love to talk to local entrepreneurs and hear their stories here. So to kick us off, can you share with us your superhero origin story?
My superhero origin story. Wow. I guess this is a superhero. Born in West Africa.
All right.
Country of Liberia. Like I said, born there. Came to the country when I was about a couple months shy of 5. My mother's side is Liberian. My dad's side is Guinean, which is a neighboring West African country. New York City was our first stop, Brooklyn and the Bronx. And moved to Colorado and then finished up in Lancaster. My dad was actually on a school visa, so attended Fordham in the Bronx, then switched to Colorado State, and then finished up in Millersville. So that was our a journey throughout the United States of America. So I came to Lancaster when I was about 5, went through the school district of Lancaster, graduated at McCaskey, and then after high school, I joined the culinary world, far as school and then just working in different facets of the industry. So, yeah.
Cool. Nice.
I guess that's my superhero.
Yeah, and tell us a little background story of how you opened up your business and tell the folks what's the name of your business and how did that come to fruition?
Okay, yeah. So I actually started my business in early 2017. And it was actually it was actually named Culinary Services by Chef Oliver, LLC. Fast forward to 2019, I actually became a Baldwin Fellow. If anybody's not familiar with that, it's a Baldwin Fellowship. It's a 18-month program through the Lancaster Community Foundation, where they pick, at least at the time, it was 7 people. I think it's up to 10 people now. It's a $5,000 grant, and they pick 7 people. You fill out an application, you either get accepted or you don't, and you kind of pick your own project. So my project was going back home. Going back home, meaning West Africa, but not just in a physical sense, and in a mental, spiritual, everything far as West Africa and the diaspora. So that was the plan. Got accepted, me and 6 other people. And that started officially September of 2019, and then it ended March of 2021. Obviously, 2020 came, and we all know what happened in 2020. So we were actually dubbed the COVID class.
Wow.
So in November 19, I actually I went to Charleston, South Carolina. And once again, that's huge, West African diaspora, where the enslaved came from West Africa. And actually Charleston was actually one of the major ports for the enslaved coming to West Africa, and then transported throughout the South.
Wow.
So it's up to about 60% of enslaved West Africans came through the ports of Charleston to be dispersed all over the South. So Charleston's a pretty important history through the transatlantic slave trade. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So what sparked the entrepreneurial journey for you?
Yeah. So with the Baldwin, 2019, I actually switched because of that project. I actually switched my my business. So because when it was culinary services, I was just cooking food, just the love of food in general. But then 2019, when I started that project, I started thinking deeper about really focusing on our ancestors from West Africa, and on the food, on the ingredients, and everything that they brought to the world. So I actually changed. So the Culinary Services actually just became the parent company, and then so under that, that's when Homage came about.
Gotcha.
And really, like I said, just focusing on that and bringing awareness to that as well. But we could talk more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm interested, or, let the audience know, like, what's some of the cuisines, the food that you are bringing to Lancaster to help tell the story of the West African diaspora.
So the West African diaspora, and there's a bigger umbrella for the West African diaspora. We could talk about people that went to Britain, different places, or just the African diaspora in general. But I focus on the West African diaspora via the Americas. So when they were taken from West Africa to the Americas, so the different regions we're talking about the American South, we're talking about the Caribbean, Central and South America, and therefore, so those cuisines as well. So we're talking barbecue, we're talking soul food, and then obviously we're talking about cuisines of the Caribbean, different countries, and Central, and once again South America. So it's pretty vast, and it gives me a wide variety of focus on a lot of different things. But the main thing to take from it is there is a linkage to West Africa. So when we talk about things like, cassava or yuca, whatever you want to call it, or sweet potatoes, and all these different ingredients that a lot of enslaved kind of brought over. So just kind of that connection. Because a lot of people feel they're not familiar with West African food.
Yeah.
But when you're eating Spanish food, when you're eating Southern food, when you're eating, food from Jamaica, Haiti, or Brazil, or all these different places, you're eating West African food.
Yeah.
But through the lack of knowledge and just you don't think about that.
Exactly.
So that's really my purpose, is to figure like, hey, we've been eating this stuff.
And don't even know it.
Yeah, don't even know it.
Yeah.
And obviously to give homage to the ancestors where they weren't given credit, recognition, and obviously, didn't get a paycheck. For their contribution. So,
yeah.
So why do you think it's important to infuse culture or tell the story of culture through food?
Well, I think it's important so it doesn't get lost. You know what I mean? So I'll give you an example because and I don't think I said this, but my business, Homage Cuisines, the West African Diaspora, operates actually 4 revenue streams. I do a catering business. I do a food retail where I carry different products in different like small stores, Lancaster Market being one of them. And I also have a food truck. And last but not least, my newest venture was opening a stand at Central Market, which was August of this year. So getting back to why it's important. So I'll give you an example. At Central Market, there was one of the customers who said to one of my employees who was at the stand, and I just happened to be walking by, he said, "I'm not sure why he calls this African food. It's Puerto Rican food."
Interesting.
That's what he said.
Interesting.
So and calling it Puerto Rican food is really not the issue, because one can look at that as Puerto Rican food. One can look at that as Cuban food or Dominican food, or even Haitian food. Any food, whatever your experiences and where you're from, you can look at it and call it that, because that's the whole point, right? But what he also said is, I don't know why he calls it African food. So that was the issue part.
Yeah.
Calling the other part is not really an issue, but you can't there is no Cuban food or Jamaican food or Brazil without West Africa. Do you know what I mean? So if that slave trade doesn't happen, then that food's going to look totally different.
Yeah.
And it's not going to have the origin. So you could claim like, that looks very similar to Puerto Rican food, but we have to remember where that came from. Because if we don't, that's how things get forgotten.
Yep.
And that's how things get whitewashed or just erased in general. And then, you'd be like, oh yeah, it just started in Puerto Rico. with the Tainos, and that's not the full story. So that's why I think it's important.
That's something I could appreciate as a Puerto Rican. The dishes and the education that you've provided me is just going a little bit deeper. Sometimes we look at our culture as it stops at Puerto Rico and actually goes farther than that, back to Africa. Right. So I think being able to connect that and dig a little bit deeper into our own history is super important. So I appreciate that you could do that through meals and through food.
I just started that through food, and I think telling it through food is not as it doesn't get everybody, because food is that connected, right?
That's
everybody
true.
loves food.
That's so
true. That's more of a kind of like less like
controversial.
Controversial.
No one's complaining while they're eating. So.
Exactly. No one's complaining with a full belly.
For sure.
Yeah. So I love that you're storytelling and you're educating through food, which is so important. And like you said, no one's going to get up in arms about food because, we celebrate with food, we grieve with food, we remember with food. So it's so important. And it's crazy that food can be a catalyst of storytelling and education. So it's so important that, what you're doing here in the community. And like you said, people don't realize the connection to West Africa with all these different countries, Southern America. It reminds me, there's a rap album by Damian Marley and Nas called Distant Cousins. And it reminds me of that. Like we're all distant cousins and our roots go back to Africa. So it's really cool that you're making that tie and bringing that education to people with food.
Yeah. So I love it. So I get to combine three of my loves because when I was younger, like really young, like my love of geography, and my love of history, and then as I got older, my love of food. So I get to combine all of those three loves. You know what I mean? And I think it's awesome. And so.
It's awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. What are some of the challenges that you've had throughout this journey?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's selling food with the West African face on it, or so. Example, if I sell soul food, people are gonna eat it up, right? If I sell Jamaican food, people are gonna eat it up. If I sell Spanish food, people are gonna eat it up because that's what folks in this country, that's what they know, and that's what they're familiar with. Just in Lancaster, I mean, those are probably like the three tops right there. You know what I mean? Like, there's no shortage of lines at Caribbean Wave or at any of the Spanish restaurants we have in this country, or even soul food. People want more soul food. Like, how much soul food can you have? But that's what people love. But when you put the name West African on it, then it's a different story because they're not as familiar. And that's what the propaganda is too, right? Because like we come far. See, I have a great perspective and look, being West African born but American raised. So I get to see different perspective from people. Because one would just call me American because I've been raised in this country, America. Some folks from West Africa might be like, "You're not African."
Wow.
You know what I mean? Just because you're just living here. But so I get to see different aspects of it. And I think it's deeper because I think that's where the self-hatred comes from. Because when people, because when immigrants come from this country, that not even just Africans, whether you come from South America or the Caribbean or you're Asian or you're Mexican, when you come to this country, you're almost forced to be not proud of who you are, right? The language you speak, the food you eat. I mean, the cafeteria is the perfect stories to tell that story. Like, oh, what is that, right? It's not tuna fish sandwich or ham and cheese.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So then you go back home and be like, Mom, can you just make me, ham and cheese sandwich, because nobody likes the smell of my food. So you're taught to kind of look down on yourself on that. And we still kind of carry that when I bring the West African food. So it's still a challenge of that. And even like I said, you're still eating it but you don't know it because you're eating it through these other channels of it. You know what I mean? But when you put the West African label on it, it's still kind of well, I'm not quite sure. I mean, we all remember the term African booty scratcher. You know what I mean? That division between like Black Americans and Africans and whatnot. So that's the struggle, is to get folks. And unfortunately, that's pretty hard. Like even at the market, I had to kind of change my menu up a little bit because still staying under the diaspora, but making it more where people are more comfortable and more aware. Like I started doing burritos.
Okay.
Right. And that's, you think of burritos, think of Mexico, right?
Yeah.
Well, Mexico is still under that diaspora. I still have certain ingredients, like sweet potatoes and rice, but I'm making it more where people are aware of it more. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, I'm still a businessman, right?
Right.
I got to make money.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? So, but I wish more people would be more open to actual, like getting into root of like West African food as well, not just other parts of the diaspora. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. This episode is built by the Reimagining Our Community Giving Circle. The ROC Giving Circle is a way for the community to support BIPOC-owned small businesses through collective philanthropy. The Giving Circle is managed by the ROC cohort, and its purpose is to facilitate funding to initiatives that support BIPOC-owned small businesses. To learn more, visit roclancaster.org.
Yeah, and you kind of talked about how you've had to pivot your menus. In what other ways in your business have you had to pivot to, whether it's changing markets or during COVID? Like, take us through that story of, different ways, whether it was, starting a food truck, opening your stand.
Well, the customers will let you know.
It's a bar. It's a bar.
You know what I mean? The customers will let you know when the numbers are not coming in.
Yeah.
And I found with Central Market, and this is when market research comes in too. And I found with Central Market, like it's all about handhelds. Right? They don't want a lot of things heavy.
Okay.
They want something that they could just eat and walk with, and that's why. Like I started like the burritos.
Right.
And also before I started, I didn't have anything breakfast. So I was kind of just sitting there for like 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, and I saw there was other, stand holders who had sandwiches. But I was like, okay, how can I tap into the breakfast crowd, but still maintaining that diaspora? Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started a breakfast burrito.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And or a bowl, it's your choice as well. But it had like sweet potatoes or like plantains, black beans, pico de gallo, and I made a cilantro garlic sauce.
Okay.
So it's still it's still diaspora.
Yeah.
It's still handheld, but it's different from what everybody else is doing. And that's really picked up on both the breakfast and the lunch. The lunch is like chicken or pork. And then with like rice, jollof rice, which is a tomato-based rice from West Africa, and still the beans and the pico de gallo. So I still maintain that diaspora, but but just tapping into a different option for people, so they have that. So yeah, I'm looking to probably add some like beef patties or empanadas and just kind of like, not traditional stuff, but maybe like a cheesesteak or something like that where you're still staying within that realm.
Right.
And you're still selling.
Yeah, that's true.
So, I mean, those are the things you have to go to as a business owner. How can you, looking to, bring money in, but still maintaining your premise of your business.
Right.
So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good lesson for entrepreneurs, I think, to understand they have to listen to the customer as well, because sometimes folks think I have this idea and I'm going to deliver it as is, but listening to customers and thinking about how am I flexible, remain curious, and be willing to pivot, super important during your journey. So
for sure. Yeah. So and like I said, luckily that the diaspora is so vast because you got West Africa. I mean, that's like 13, 14 countries, but then you got the whole South America, you got the, the central part, you got the Caribbean, and like I said, the southern part of the U.S. So it's so vast that you can really make it work.
Definitely. Yeah. There's so many options you can go with, you know?
And it's not even just dishes, it could just be the ingredients of it, and that's what makes it work. So, yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm curious how, because you've had a couple events, right, that you've used to educate people along with food. Could you tell us a little more about those events and like the theme or topic of those?
Yeah, so hopefully, because my commissary kitchen is at Commonwealth Kitchen and Cafe, which is on Prangley and First. So that's where I work out, and I work there when they're not in session, obviously. But yeah, so last year, actually I guess beginning of this year, I started, I think I did about 3 or 4 months, and hopefully as the winter comes back again, we can start that up again. And I just pick a theme, in the past I did so the one theme was Haiti. And I had a good friend of mine, Marie, who helped me there. She's Haitian.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we kind of collaborated on together, and we're just Haitian dishes, you know what I mean? Once again, celebrating that diaspora, Haitian being the first Black republic.
That's right.
If folks are not aware of that. I think it was either 1804, 1801 when they defeated the French to become independent. So they have a vast history of food. And I learned a lot from that as well, because I'm always learning too. I'm not the expert here.
Right.
Every day I'm learning, new things about different countries, different foods and stuff like that. So so that went well, and you can educate, I think, people more through that, like those pop-up dinners, than you can off a food truck. I mean, nobody's trying to learn at a food truck. They just
they want their food and want to go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's not really the proper
the person asking questions like you're holding up the line.
Right. Exactly. Next order.
I mean, you can serve some of the food, but it's not really or even at the stand. Even though some of the stand you can, depending how busy you are. But those pop-up dinners definitely are the way to educate.
Gotcha.
And hopefully I can do that again this winter.
And I think the best entrepreneurs are always ones that are looking to master their craft, constantly learning, being curious. So that's cool that you consider yourself a student in that respect too.
For sure.
How about mentorship? Has there been anyone that's mentored you through your journey, or role models that kind of inspired you to keep going or motivate you in this process?
Yeah. Funny thing, back in 2015, I was watching something on YouTube, and there was a guy named Michael Twitty, who was talking about the American South and food from the South to West Africa. And then fast forward 2017, my then girlfriend, fiance, we're not together anymore, but she was big into ancestry.
Okay.
So and she got my DNA, and I'm like, wait, I don't need, because I was born in Africa. I don't need to, you know what I mean? It's not like people that were born here, they get cut off of their lineage and stuff like that. I was like, I know. But anyway, so she did it. She wanted to do it, and then she was like, hey, do you know Michael Twitty? And I'm like, yeah, the name sounds familiar. I was like, yeah. That was the guy that blah, 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 blah. She goes, you're distant cousins.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. So anyway, so that was cool. So we met in 2017 because she told them to. And then we actually met right before COVID hit. He actually came to the convention center. It was for, now I forget the name of the company, PASA.
Okay.
PASA. So he was one of the keynote speakers. So we had a chance to meet. So that's definitely somebody that I talk to on a basis. He's also a James Beard Award winner.
Okay.
If you're familiar with James Beard. James Beard Awards, it's in hospitality. So every year they have it's basically chefs, it's cookbook authors, it's anybody that's in the food realm.
Yeah.
And then so he won a James Beard winner for his first book. So that was pretty cool. And he's just doing great things and traveling. Him and a bunch of chefs went to Cameroon earlier this year, and unfortunately I couldn't go because I still had JOB, and I'm still kicking myself.
Oh man,
kicking first, which I no longer do have a JOB, other than I guess JOB working for myself.
Which is still the same.
Don't knock that.
Yeah, it's not a much difference between employee and self-employed.
I got a really bad dad joke right now. I'm like, also the culinary stuff is built into the DNA. Literally, right?
Yeah. So so I have him. There's some other people that I look up to. Kim O'Donnell, who used to write for LMP. She was a food writer.
Okay.
And, I mean, she still obviously dealt in food. So yeah, there's a lot of people in the food realm that I talked and looked up to too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Just keep learning, and so.
Yeah. And I'm curious, in the hustle and bustle of being an entrepreneur, owning your own business, how do you stay motivated? And also, how do you do self-care?
Well, I have to be honest. My life is very unbalanced. It's like business. And I was just talking to a friend of mine, because I don't get that many days off. Even though people say like the market's only open 3 days. Well, yes, but those other days were like, we gotta get our books in order.
Right.
Like we have to make sure our stand is stocked, with ingredients and just your regular day, like containers and stuff like that.
Right.
And obviously it's just prepping. You know what I mean? Yeah, the food's not going to cook itself.
Right. That'd be great if it did, right?
Yeah. So I need to do a better job in finding time for myself. It's a struggle. Yeah. I'm sure I'm not the only entrepreneur that goes through that. But yeah. I think as I get more hands and more help, that will be more a goal to attain. Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Well, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. So can you tell us a time that you took some type of risk or pivoted to a new direction that ended up paying off that you weren't quite too sure about? Yeah,
I mean, there's two of them. 2021, that was a big risk. It was a big risk financially. And that's when I acquired my food truck. And I always wanted a food truck, but we just have this, we hold each other back more than anybody else. We as us, you know what I mean? Because fear is huge, you know what I mean? And sometimes you doubt yourself, but I was determined the beginning of 2021 that I'm going to get this food truck. And it was actually somebody else that I saw get a food truck really made me, okay, it's time to do it. Yeah. And like this person doing it, I can do it. So that was a big risk. I think it has paid off. And then the second risk was this year because I started my business in 2017, but I was still employed. I worked for the Boys and Girls Club. I was a cook for that organization. And I always thought about leaving. I was like, I should leave. I felt the club was costing me money. It cost me money far as I was turning down a lot of business opportunities. Gotcha. Whether it was catering, whether it was the food truck. And I felt that was, costing me more than staying. So this year I was just like, and I think when I applied for the market stand, I think subconsciously, like I knew that I would have to make that decision. Yeah. Because I couldn't operate the stand and then still be, sometimes you only get like one shot to shine. Yeah. And I thought I was going to do myself a disservice for my business if I would try to, still have a job and still operate the stand. So, and I think I did that subconscious, like knowing like I have to leave. You know what I mean? Like
take the leap.
Yeah, I had to take the leap. And so like I said, there's always, that fear, but I felt that it was a great decision, and it was time. Yeah.
So to emphasize a little bit, so you just because people know you in the community as a longtime entrepreneur, which you have been, but you recently just quit your job and went full time into the business.
Yeah, I was doing that dance. Let me see, 17 to 6 years of having a job and. Wow. And having my businesses, yeah.
And I think it's good to emphasize that because I think too many entrepreneurs, think they have to go full-time into their business right away. And it is a dance. It is, making sure bills are paid, rent or mortgage is paid, and you can, do that while doing your businesses, building the reputation on the side. So it's good to see that it took 6 years, but you just, went in full-time.
Yeah.
And eventually you have to take the leap.
Eventually you have to take the leap. I was, I guess some people are okay doing their business part-time, but I was like, I'm doing myself a disservice. So I had to,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What advice would you give to people who are looking to be an entrepreneur or even just jump into the culinary industry itself? Like if you could talk to, Oliver 6 years ago or 7, 10, whenever the idea of opening your business up, what advice would you tell younger Oliver or an aspiring entrepreneur?
Oh, well, as far as just the food service in general, it's work. Mm-hmm. Back when I was growing up, like when I started in the culinary world, which was, I'll show my age here, when I graduated high school in 1993, like we didn't have all these like food service like shows, and I don't even think Food Network was even operating in 1993. I think we had like PBS and the TLC channel, and that wasn't 24/7. Like you had to like catch it,
right?
You know what I mean? Certain parts of the day, and now you have like obviously Food Network. There's so many food like programs, and they're almost like spoiled, You know what I mean? But they don't see. They see the glory, they see what they're doing, like their TV, but they don't see like the behind the scenes and what it took these people to get here. And I think that's a disservice because, it's work. It's work. When I'm doing my food truck, that's like a 16-hour day. When I'm doing my market stand, Central Market doesn't have ventilation system. So all the food people, all that stuff, especially if you're doing hot food, like all that stuff has to be prepared off-site and brought in. And like I said, the market opens up at 6. I'm not starting cooking at 5 o'clock.
Right.
I go in like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'd be thinking that too. I'm like, I'm going 1 o'clock in the morning. I remember I used to be clubbing. You know what I mean? I used to be clubbing, and I'm going in the kitchen, and people are still clubbing. So it's funny, like how my life has, changed. I'm going in because. I gotta get the food ready, and then I gotta, transport it. It's work. It's work. So that thing that the people need to understand. As far as like the entrepreneurial side of it, depending on what your concentration is, and obviously I'll talk from my experience and me being cook, I know how to cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But there's all the elements of being an entrepreneur, right?
That's true.
You got to be a bookkeeper. You know what I mean? You gotta have all these different hats, and sometimes that's a big challenge.
Yeah.
And it's like, can you try to do that on your own, and then you just start like you can't swim, you're sinking, right?
Yeah.
Or you have to hire people in these different realms to handle that for you.
Right.
So when you're smaller, I think you can do that, but once you start getting bigger and bigger and bigger, it's hard to try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every 3 quarters, you gotta those taxes gotta be filed.
That's true. That's true. Or Uncle Sam coming for you.
Make sure they're done.
They'll remind you. And so that's the struggle for the entrepreneur side.
Yeah.
This special podcast episode is built by the Lancaster County Community Foundation, which uses this transformational potential of community-based philanthropy and the power of endowment to help shape a Lancaster County where every individual is valued, has a sense of belonging, and has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you to our friends at the Lancaster County Community Foundation for making it possible to provide access to training and lending for entrepreneurs. So, you're dropping a lot of gems here, because I think too many times we hear that folks want to be an entrepreneur because they think, I want to be my own boss, I'm going to have all this freedom, and it's just like, and it's a lot of work. Sometimes you have to be ready for these long days and this commitment, and you are responsible not only for you, but if you have employees, like you're responsible for payroll. You know, are you ready for that pressure and that, that responsibility that it takes to be an entrepreneur and your own boss in that sense. So it's I think it's always good to remind people of that reality, not just the surface level appeal to what entrepreneurship is.
Yeah.
So,
and bills.
And
like you don't think, when I got my food truck, and people don't understand, you pay for the food truck, but then you gotta get the equipment. You gotta get you got to get insurance. You know what I mean? Just business in general. You got to get insurance. You got to, I have my trailer, my food trailer, like parked somewhere. That's That's not free. You got to pay for that.
Exactly.
And it's like, ting, ting, ting. You're like, you sure you want to be an entrepreneur? Yeah, all those like, bills that, start adding up. Central Market, being at that stand, that's a bill.
Right.
You know, I had to get at Prince Street Garage. That's a monthly bill. Right. Because you can't be paying $20 a day. At some also.
Right, that racks up.
Yeah, it racks up. So and actually it's a pretty good deal at the garage. But what I mean is like you just add in another bill to, for your business.
Yeah.
So.
And how does all that get incorporated into how you sell or what you sell your food for,
right?
Exactly.
Building that into that price.
Yeah. Right. Got my commissary kitchen. That's a bill. And you got to remember, I came from, and luckily for the club, all those 6 years when I was doing that dance, they weren't charging me for kitchen rent.
Okay.
And this is the Boys and Girls Club, not the club at 1 a.m. you were talking about, right?
Yeah. They weren't charging me, so that was great. So that was awesome. But at the same time, like I said, in the bigger picture, it was still costing me money. But so then you go to a new, then, Commonwealth is not letting me use that, for free.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
It's the cost of doing business.
Cost of doing business.
That's
to make money. Yeah. To make.
You got to spend money.
You got to spend money,
Yep.
So.
Yeah. And, we've heard a lot of, the sacrifices you've had to do and, as your business grows. Do you happen to have a team that supports you or helps you? Or are you doing it all by yourself? Right now?
Well, far as until right now, my commissary is a shared space.
Okay.
So I'm still looking in the future at some point to have a space that's not shared. That'd be my ultimate dream. And then therefore I can that will actually save me money.
Okay. Because
since I have a shared space, therefore my lack of space far as like refrigeration, like I have to do a lot of more shopping because I just don't have that space. But if I have my own space, then I can do like more wholesale buying versus retail. So that would save space. So and I do have people that help me on the food truck when that's operating, also help me at the market stand, but nobody far as like in the commissary realm yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that would definitely be helpful.
Yeah.
Because then I could cut out some of those hours, that I'm working. But it would have to be, like I said, I'm still looking for that. Yeah.
That space. Yeah. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
So to dream a little bit, you've been doing this for how many years? 6+ years?
6 years.
6 years. So another 10 years from now, where's Chef Oliver and where's the business at?
Well, as far as Chef Oliver, right as I'm working right now, I like to get off the front lines as any business owner. So I would like to be in more markets. I like the market. I like that farmers market feel. Yeah. Always want to be a part of that. And now I have the opportunity. So I would like to be in more markets. I'm looking at Reading. There's a great market in Reading called Fifth Street Market.
Okay.
Obviously, you have Broad Street Market, which is obviously going through a transition right now.
Right.
Hershey, York, PA. Right. And one of my ultimate market goals will be Reading Terminal in Philadelphia. Yeah. So that my goal is to have multiple marketplaces and have people operating those.
Gotcha.
And who knows, maybe another food truck. And once again, not being in those front lines as well. So obviously that would take hiring people, dependable people, people who see your business as their own. Yeah. That's not a small thing. And then just to be more like, supervisor role and making sure those revenue streams are operating, with the, what's that phrase, with the faucet, the faucet that just keeps running and just keeps, that's a Robert Kiyosaki thing. So, nice. And so that's where I see, and hopefully in 10 years that will happen.
Good.
Yeah, hopefully less than 10 years.
Yeah.
6 months.
It's ambitious.
So, cool. And Yeah, and I'll, also looking at the retail brand as well, creating sauces and dressings and stuff like that. That's more like diaspora stuff too. And then also, I would like to do a lot more like the pop-ups, more educational type things, whether it just, maybe it might not even be cooking, just going to different places and speaking on the diaspora. Right. I know I have done some stuff with F&M. They have invited me, but just more speaking on that.
Right.
Yeah, for as an educational piece as well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Continue that storytelling.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if you could zoom out, kind of look at your story, what are some huge milestones that you're like, I did that. That's amazing. And, something that you're super proud of.
Always wanted a food truck. Check.
Yeah.
That's off the list. Yeah. Always wanted to be a business owner. Check. And then always wanted a market stand. Check. What's I see in the future other than what I just said? I like to do like a memoir.
Author Oliver.
Memoir about my life, my journey throughout the United States and food and culture and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll purchase that book.
So any editors, let me know.
I'll let you know.
Well, I have no doubt you do it. We met for the first time, I guess 6 years ago when you were first
the learning circle.
Yeah. So I remember Chef Oliver walking through the asset stores, and I'm grateful to be connected long enough to kind of see folks like you that started their journey, and then over the years kind of see the consistency and commitment that you guys have stuck to. And I share your story a lot, and it's because it's super excited and happy for your success and everything that you're contributing to our community. So thank you from me to you. It's always been cool to see you from afar.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate it, Jamie.
Yeah.
Sir.
And it's cool to see you come back to Assets and stand in front of either a classroom or a group of aspiring entrepreneurs that are in your shoes that you were in, 6-10 years ago, that are, just getting started or don't know where to go. And you're telling your story. So that's really cool to see you come back and give back to the community in that way as well. So,
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Happy to do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
I think that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank
you
for
Chef
joining us.
Oliver. Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
And that's a wrap on another amazing episode of Built by Us. A huge thank you to Chef Oliver Saye for sharing his incredible journey and the flavors of the West African diaspora with us.
Absolutely. If you enjoyed this episode and want to stay connected with Chef Oliver or learn more about Homage, be sure to check out the show notes for his information.
And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Built by Us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us continue bringing you these amazing entrepreneur stories.
This is the Built by Us podcast, brought to you by Assets. Visit us at assetspa.org to learn more about the products and services we provide. And you can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube.